Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium, an American Athletic Conference clash. Temple invading to take on the Navy midshipmen. The latest in the American, 4 teams unblemished in the East. The 3 outside of Temple, all nationally ranked. And good afternoon, everybody. John Sadak alongside the Hall of Famer Randy Cross. She and Stanford Birch will join us on the sidelines. For Navy, licking its wounds after a difficult setback against a rival in Air Force. Temple, though, has overcome 2 surprising setbacks to begin the year to Villanova and Buffalo.
Yeah, they sit at 3-3, and they're coming off a big win last week where they really offensively showed out, and they are a tough, physical team. Kind of the last team you want to see after taking the beating they did last week, Navy did, against Air Force. And
they'll have their sights on 2 stars for Navy. The quarterback, Malcolm Perry, and Zach Abey, questionable this week, will play.
It's a big factor of Abey being back in the offense, especially if he can carry any load in short yardage and goal line from the quarterback position. But I like to give credit where credit is due, and I'll give blame where blame is due. Navy's offensive line has been horrendous. They have to play light years better for them to be competitive against Temple.
Temple will be without the services of perhaps its best player on offense and one of the best backs in the American in Raquel Armstead.
And not having Armstead naturally has to hurt them. But they're pretty imaginative. They'll do some different stuff. They'll use 4 or 5 different running backs. And what it'll really come down to is their sophomore quarterback, Russo, who last week seemed to have the kind of game that really means he was coming into his own, because he was 21 of 25 and really had a game that becomes kind of an earmark, point in a guy's career.
Jeff Collins, the head man for Temple, knows defending the triple option well. Ken Niumatalolo wins a ton at home. 49-14 is the head man in Annapolis. How did Navy handle prep this week in the wake of the disastrous loss to Air Force? Let's check in with Sheehan.
Well, Navy is coming off that tough and emotional loss against Air Force, and Coach Niumatalolo told us that they are still searching for their identity on offense after rushing for just 129 yards last weekend, well below their season average. However, don't look for any drastic changes in personnel or style of play. Coach told us that there is a sense of urgency, but they are not panicking. This week in practice, they went back to work, focused on details, execution, giving 100% effort, all characteristics that Navy teams are known for.
Appreciate that, Sheehan. Said there was no magic wand. There is a fall atmosphere. Temperature at 60 degrees. Some brisk winds moving right to left that could impact the kick game. Well, Temple won the toss and elected to receive. So Navy will kick to get the game going.
Temple wants to set the tone, John.
Jeff Collins said he'd want the ball if they won the toss, and right from the lip of the end zone. And Navy, outstanding pursuit on coverage. It'll be difficult field position. Time now for the Chick-fil-A starting lineups. The quarterback for the Temple Owls since game number 3, Anthony Russo, who had as many incompletions as he did touchdown passes last week.
Yeah, really his best effort as a starter. He was passing for about 45% coming into that game, and definitely improved all his numbers, and I think the general confidence in his offense went up a whole lot in what he can do.
Remember, no Armstead, the outstanding running back. Instead, it's Rob Rich Rovado, former walk-on fullback, who got the ball there. Adam Klein gets the start at right tackle, a true freshman.
Yeah, a true freshman who came into the year at 265 pounds and has been pounding 1,500 calorie milkshakes every day, trying to put on the good kind of weight.
Checking down, Russo tuck and run. 6'4", inviting the contact. Sean Williams, the collision, a flag down.
Yeah, he was sliding. At worst case, this is a late hit. You don't want targeting this early.
Anthony Calabrese, our referee. Sean Williams, aghast.
His last.
After the play, personal foul, late hit, defense, number 6, 15 yards.
And remember that last week against Air Force, it was a targeting call in the game's infancy against Taylor Heflin that was part of a tone setter.
Big time tone setter. Sean Williams, there's no way to sort of fight physics and gravity. He was going after Russo just as he was sliding.
He is the captain of the defense out of a pistol look. Off the fake, Russo keeps. Navy defense left guessing. Sean Williams stumbles him after 10. The starting defense for Navy, Hudson Sullivan, is the top tackler.
Yeah, and Hudson Sullivan, those linebackers are going to have to take that whole pulling the ball out option, give Russo a little credit, and start covering that option.
Needing only a yard. Rich Travato, who can catch the ball some, and Nitro gets hit hard, but he'll pick up the first, popped by Jarvis Polu, gain of 5. And you hit on it with Armstead out. Look for a variety of options to essentially become the running yardage that he would normally deliver.
A wide variety of options.
And already we see the first change. Jagger Gardner checks in at running back. And he gets the ball. Gardner against probing hands. Polu part of the pair to bring him down. Another long jaunt of a dozen for a first.
Watch this left side. Watch the blocking on that left side. That is a really nice job. They stay on the blocks. You stay on blocks that long, it's going to be a big gain every time.
Very physical Temple team on both sides. Something echoed by many Navy players and coaches this week. Russo loading up. Wide open. Inside of the 5. Gardner brought down by Alon Nash, 38 yards on the big hit to the running back.
How about that protection? Look at that pocket for Temple. No pressure, no pass rush. Nice spot pass to a wide open running back out of the backfield.
Russo keeps, and the push is not there. Stopped just a half-yard shy.
Well, the push was sure there inside. Nice job by the defense inside for Navy with Pittman and company. Usually including Polu when you get that kind of a stymie inside. How about that kind of size, John, at fullback?
Big body in. Motion used as well. Give it to the fullback. And whistles blare. There was movement. A flag down to the far side of the field.
False start. Offense, number 95. 5-yard penalty, second down.
They had Freddie Booth Lloyd in there.
Yeah, that's the hazard of having offensive players that normally play on defense. They're not really quite sure exactly what they're going to be doing. And in that case, it was Dan Archibald lining up at tight end who moved a little bit early. Defensive tackle.
Isaiah Wright just checked back into the game. They try to get him the ball in a variety of ways. Centeo at quarterback, and in the backfield, the piercing pressure of Hudson Sullivan, a big tackle for loss.
Now that's something this defense has not seen very much of, and that's a tackle for loss. Hudson Sullivan coming from the onside. He sees the blocks down. He knows that means I've got to get across the lines. Exactly what he did, getting in the backfield. Nice sure tackle by the Navy linebacker.
That was against Centeo, who's the third quarterback essentially. Frank Juice Newtile, the former starter, not available last week. He could be sprinkled in today. 3rd and goal. Russo. End zone. Incomplete. Disrupted by Jake Springer.
Well, great protection by Temple. So Russo had a chance to sit in there and deliver. But look at that. Look at that job down the field by Springer. That is some tight coverage. Right hand getting right up there inside the arms and ticking that ball away. That's great technique.
He got the start today. So some wins today. This is going toward that win by Will Mobley. Took over in week 3.
That's a win for the defense for Navy. You get in first run like this down to the 1 and hold them to a field goal.
And a bad snap and then a bad kick. The snap was tall, the kick wide, and Kenny Amatololo is airborne.
That's how you set the tone on the other side, John. You take the kick. I want the ball, Temple said. They drive it down the field. No field goal, no pump, no points. Man, what a way to start the game for Temple.
Garrett Lewis under center at quarterback here. Not now. Campario gets the ball on a pitch and puts it on the ground. Temple pounces. A wrestle match for the football. Owls claim they have it.
What did Sheehan say that they were talking about? Doing what they do well, going back to their basics? Well, they start with the backup quarterback, and the guy that's been starting is lining up at running back. He's not used to doing that. Maybe this week in practice, but that looked a little rusty right there.
And they were down with the ball as Taylor Jackson sprawled to find the football. It's a loss of 6. The pitch. Not much in the way of numbers there. The ball loose again. Temple's got it. Trey Walker puts it on the ground, and Temple pounces to claim the football.
It's a fumble recovered by Temple.
Delvin Randall able to jar it free.
Randall puts his helmet on the left side. The ball's on the right, but regardless, when the arm on the right side comes in, he knocks the ball loose. Look at his right arm. The ball comes out. That's definitely a recovery.
So the ball at the 19. Temple had down and goal at the half-yard line. Settled for a 25-yard field goal miss. Out of the pistol. Right into the clutches of Nizair Cromartie. Pick up a 3.
If I'm Temple, I'm going to do sort of a back-to-the-future kind of offense. I'm going to play action with Russo, take advantage of his accuracy, but I'm going to take advantage of this offensive line and the blocking they can give me and be very, very boring and very methodical.
Doc Brown is not boring. Russo finds Isaiah Wright. Ball loose. Navy falls upon it. Josh Webb.
That's a fumble. It came out before he was down.
Jared Ryan helped knock it free. And the DN, Josh Webb, scoops it up.
First down.
So Wright gets it. Sees the defense coming. And before he's down, that ball comes out.
Under further review.
I don't think the elbow was down, or the hip, or the knee. Watch his body. When does the ball come out? Yep. Before his shoulder or elbow hits the ground, that ball's coming out the other side.
Once again, Garrett Lewis at quarterback. Nelson Smith, the fullback, shakes off the initial hit of Delvin Randall and picks up an extra couple. Gain of 9. Time now for the Chick-fil-A starting lineup. So the shocker, Navy's coaches this week were steadfast. Malcolm Perry is the quarterback, but Garrett Lewis has been under center so far.
Well, the key to that last big play, though, was the right side of that offensive line, led by Andrew Wood at right tackle. That was some excellent blocking, opening up that side.
And yet again, right back to the fullback, the heart of the triple option, and Nelson Smith, who gets turned aside. Jaquise Thomas denies. You speak of that offensive line. We spent time with Laurent Njiki this week, and you asked him a great question. Name your best game this year. I loved his answer.
Yeah, that'd be one good question in a row, by the way, for me. Yeah, he said, I haven't had it yet. I'm planning on having it here in the future. Might be this Sunday or this Saturday. But he says, I haven't played my best game.
And there seems to be that sense from the entire offensive line group.
Well, they'd all be right after last week.
The fake to Smith, and Lewis showing that he's got some shimmy and shake. And a little physicality. Delvin Randall there again. Gain of 9, first down.
Again, that right side, nice double team. Good job by Wood. Blocking down, getting to that next level, and opening things up.
Anthony Gargiulo checks in at fullback, and you've been calling for the offensive line to be more explosive and for the fullback to be a bigger part of the offense.
It's got to happen. If you're going to run the triple option, you got to have 3 options, and you got 0 options with bad blocking.
Play fake. Lewis, the best throwing quarterback for Navy, steps up, feeling pressure into the flat, and not a whole lot there for Taj Malloy. Lightning quick Sam Franklin, who does a bit of everything. Nickelback, Sam Backer, Mike Backer, D lineman makes the stop. Armed Forces football is proudly supported by Bass Pro Shops and Cabela's. Loss of 4 there, 2nd and 14.
You'll notice through the course of this game, Temple is very good at open field tackling. Very well coached, very fundamentally sound. you do the fundamentally sound with the physical nature. And you've got one of the reasons why Jeff Collins, I think, has got this football team going in the right direction.
Perry's been at the off position today. It's the second time he's fed on a pitch. He had fumbled the first and shows that trademark shake. Delvin Randall chops him down after 5.
Yeah, how about this right side? Watch the collapse on the right side. They just knock guys down. And Perry does that hesitation step. He does that about as well as anybody out there, where he gets going full speed, puts that foot in the ground, and defenders fly by him.
That was Sean Bradley, Temple's top tackler. Great overall athlete, a running back in his own right. We'll see him there some today. That was baffled, left out of his cleats.
Not everybody has those brakes.
I certainly don't. I don't have those gas pedals either. They fake the toss. Lewis loading up. A bullet. Oh, what a pass and a completion as he hooks up with Taylor Jackson.
And Taylor Jackson, give him some credit. Not only does Lewis deliver this ball, but look at the immediate contact right in the solar plexus, right in the gut is where he's hit, and he holds on to the ball.
That's his team leading 7th grab. They pick up 14 yards. He's a big wideout, 6'3", 215. And with Lewis under center, Navy showing some rhythm. Fake to the fullback, and Temple sniffed it out that time around. Zach Mesday, the former walk-on defensive end, part of that D-line they call the Wild Boys, able to contain.
Yeah, they are rough, they are physical up front, but right now Navy's matching them. So from a Temple standpoint, that's usually that's a little bit unusual to have that happen.
And last year, Temple held Navy to 136 yards rushing on 52 attempts. That's a little more than 2.5 per. 1 yard on that last play. Nelson Smith, they say he hits the mesh, the handoff point, faster than anyone they've ever had at fullback, and he zips into Russell and Bradley to gain 6.
Well, on the back side of that play, you gave the fullback the ball right over the center. Right guard, right tackle, they're down in the legs of the Temple defenders. They can't react in time to tackle. That's why the fullback is able to get so far down the field. There's no backside support.
This just like the last occurrence in this neighborhood. You already got 2 plays in here?
There's already 2 plays. Both sideline know full well.
Lewis has thrown well. Fake to Perry, needing 8 on the sideline, gets crashed out of bounds by Thomas and a flag down.
How far out of bounds did that hit take place?
There is no foul for number 28 remains in the game.
So what do you do with how the ball spotted? 4th down and 2. Each side will have a chance to talk it over as we are through the first quarter of play. You're watching college football on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. Through 1 quarter of play, no score. A 4th down, 2nd quarter getting underway, and the offense not on the field. It'll be the kick unit and a field goal attempt for Navy.
But remember, Garrett Lewis is the holder, so there's always that possibility.
Although when we asked Ken Niumatalolo about running a fake on a field goal, he scoffed at that and said, I'd rather go for it. And here, they're going to kick the field goal. So Bennett Mooring, 4 of 5 on field goal tries this year from about 24. And the chip shot is good. Temple missed from 25. Navy hits from 24. Turnovers in the early stage of the game. This one knocked free by Jared Ryan. Gave Navy the football. And Lewis and company march it down. Lewis with a hold and Mooring with the game's first points.
Tom, you were instrumental in getting a lot of your classmates back. What made this 1963 team so special?
Just a bunch of guys that care for one another, the brotherhood that we had, as we loved one another, we trusted one another, and we really care for one another in the school. And we were successful, and to have Roger on the team to get the Heisman Trophy, the whole season was special, and so we stayed together all these years together.
Roger, you played in the stadium, never lost here, have so many memorable moments. What's your favorite?
Well, we had some really good games here. The first one I ever played in here in the stadium, and I played against Cornell when I started. Where I got in the game, and I played almost the whole game, and I had a lot of good runs. But we had a tough schedule back then. We had Notre Dame, Michigan. We do today too. It's Navy football is great, and this guy right here is all about leadership. He was the captain of our team. He's kept us together all these years. Tom Lynch has been the leader that's kept us together. We had a really good run back in the old days.
Such a strong connection. What advice would you give these Navy seniors that are just a couple months away from starting their careers as officers?
Well, first of all, I'm proud of them. I had a chance to serve 4 years in the Navy. This guy right here is a retired admiral, so he retired, and I respect our military. And in today's crazy world, our military is every day they get up and they care about us, to protect us, our kids, our grandkids, and I'm proud to be part of that many years ago.
Well, thank you both for your service, and thanks for spending some time with us.
Thank you.
Appreciate that, Sheehan. And you saw a video between the first and second quarter, able to recreate one of the signature moments from that season. Of course, that year's Army-Navy game, among the most legendary, not only for the game itself, but it was in the wake of President Kennedy's assassination. Just a couple of weeks removed, the country turned to that game. Play fake. Russo on 2nd and 5. Deep look and able to connect with Randall Jones, who had an incredible leaping one-handed touchdown grab last week. He can be special.
Yeah, he really can be, and the gun that Russo has, especially on the move like that, is something that you have to contend with. If you're Dale Pearson, the defensive coordinator for Navy, you have to really start thinking about how you get pressure on him.
13 yards on that last play, and they go right back to the right sideline, and Jones again, a gain of 7. Armed Forces football is proudly supported by Golden Corral.
And remember, if you're talking about pressure on a quarterback, and this defense specifically, pressure comes at the expense of man coverage. So you have to be really careful about where you do that pressuring, because man coverage can be deadly.
Navy already has 1 tackle for loss today. Entered last in the country, barely more than 2.5 a game. Toss look, Tylee Grainer zigzagging on that right edge. Corbin Hayward part of the big bodies, and Taylor Heflin to drag him down.
That'll be a first down for Temple, getting a little bit of their methodical on, much like Navy did on their last drive after that turnover.
Well, since Temple switched quarterbacks to Russo, originally due to injury for Frank Nutile, who we're told is healthy and available this week, they have scored 31 or more points in 4 consecutive games.
Well, 7 touchdowns last week, 4 by air.
Off the play fake, one-on-one on the deep shot, too long. Trying to hook up again with Randall Jones.
There's an example. If you bring a blitz, and Navy brought a blitz, you're going to be manned up on the outside. That means you're leaving your cornerback on an island, not much help. You got to hope you get a ball that's a little overthrown just like that. Otherwise, it's a touchdown.
That was Cameron Kinley in coverage there. Play fake, Russo on the quick slant. Oh, what a job on the grab. Let's go. Appreciate that. And that could be a big-time surprise. You believe, Randy, UCF by far the best team in the American.
Yes, they are. And that scoreboard is going to be a pinball machine before that one's over.
There's a grab for Ventel Bryant, who now has a catch in 42 consecutive games played, a gain of 12 for a first.
Check out the height that Bryant goes to get this. I mean, he's got to go not only up, he's got to go back. That's a physical challenge that he's up to. 42 games in a row. Some of those games with a lot of injuries, he's answered the bell and gotten a catch.
He was banged up last week. At one point in his career, was kicked off the team. Twirling look. And yet again, it's Bryant. Taylor Heflin with the stop. Apologies for the language. Gain of 7 there. There is some intensity to this, though. It's almost academy-like how physical and nitty-gritty this kind of matchup can be.
Well, yeah, and Navy's playing with the desperation that you'd expect out of them after that tail whipping last week. They know they've got to win this game, and they're playing like it.
Temple in the red zone, delayed handoff. Rayner with room, showing some shake, and he dances into the end zone for a touchdown, his first of the year. 15 yards. The young man who made his collegiate debut 2 weeks ago at BC gets his first TD.
You start thinking about pass rush. You're coming up the field. What's a great play? A screen or a draw. And a draw here is the perfect play. Defense is either backing up in the back 7 or coming too fast forward to do anything about that draw. That was a great call.
Dave Patino, the second-year OC, showing his creativity. Now Mobley, the point after. He's been perfect on the year. And he converts.
Well, over on that right side, Picozzi, the right guard, Adam Klein, the right tackle, great blocks. That sets all that up.
Air Force dominance, but then clipped by San Diego State last night and lost Hammond, their star quarterback. He was carted off with no shoe during the course of the game. Fair catch for Springer. So Garrett Lewis at quarterback, that's been a surprise today. He's 2 of 2, 10 yards, had a loss of 4 and 1 completion, and then a bullet for a first down. You know, this week, Bill Wagner, who's covered Navy for decades, wrote a column and expressed his opinion steadfastly that Malcolm Perry, while an incredibly talented player and he had effusive praise for what he brings to the table, should not be the quarterback. Coaching staff said it would be Perry. It's been Lewis off the play fake. Trying to thread the needle in double coverage, looking for Perry, knocked away, nearly picked. That was in dangerous territory.
You know, when we met with Malcolm Perry, I asked him, what's harder, catching a wide open pass or throwing a wide open pass? And he kind of smiled and said, oh, it's definitely throwing a wide open pass. Well, he didn't have the problem being wide open on that one. He was covered, double coverage.
Now you can feel that Navy has tried to get the ball quite a bit to Perry. They use the fullback significantly early. You would imagine a fullback look here on second down. Perry in motion. Give to Perry on the sweep. Perry gets a few blocks. Ooh. And then some hard contact, knifing through Isaiah Graham Mobley. Fierce hit. Gain of 5.
Man, if you're going to stop, get going. If you're going to cut back inside, expect to get hit like this. Yeah, that probably felt just like it sounded.
And Graham Mobley, by the way, does not start, but he is Temple's second leading tackler. He makes a ton of plays out there.
Makes a ton of plays on the defensive side, and he's a demon on special teams. If there's a tackle involved in special teams, he's probably part of it.
Part of a kick return fumble touchdown against BC on third down off the fake. Plenty of room for Lewis and more with a block. Able to dance out of bounds. Extra lineman in there, Nestrowitz. Rodney Williams helps him out of play.
Well, that was all about that left side, and Njiki and Hawk. They did a beautiful job blocking that. That set up the ability to get those yards for Lewis. And so far, this offensive line for Navy is having probably their best game in about a month. So, of course, the offense looks functional now that both of those parts are starting to perform.
Nelson Smith able to jaggedly make his way off a couple of defenders, but Graham Mobley and Quincy Roche contained him after 3. And this is what feels like Navy football, where even a play that wasn't that eye-popping, 3 yards.
Win the turnover battle, like I said in the keys, and time of possession. That's option football. You saw it work to perfection nearly by Army earlier this year against Oklahoma in Norman. Took them to overtime, almost pulled off the upset. That's what option football is about, and that's what Navy's been missing.
Army leads the country, owns the football over 40 minutes a game. Lewis changing field. Miles Fells has some big room, and he got hit on high near the face mask. Taken out of bounds, flag flutters. Gain of a dozen. Sean Bradley was there.
Personal foul. Face mask. Defense number 32. Half the distance to goal. First down.
Benny Walls, the safety. It's not 32. It is 5. Sean Bradley there.
Yeah, Bradley gets in there, gets that face mask. And you know you got a lot of face masks when all you see in the running back's face view on the helmet is hair. Not supposed to see hair in the hole in the front of the helmet.
You'll never see hair on a helmet that I have.
Good point.
Yeah.
You are looking a little scruffy, though. You got those sides growing out a little.
Yeah, you know, you got the chops. You set such a tone. 1st and 10 here. Some penalties at the start. Blitz shown. Off the fake. Lewis trying to go strong. Maintains the football. 2nd effort. He is barely short. What a physical run. Dan Archibong finally takes care of him after 11.
Well, that left side of the offensive line led by Laurent Njiki, number 78, the guard. Look at him come off the ball. Look at that whole offensive line in that left side. They wall off the Temple defense. The Temple defense can't pursue. Not only are they stopped from penetrating, the linebackers are prevented from scraping. That's why Lewis is able to get those yards.
It's like me with icing. Lewis trying to follow, doesn't have a whole lot. Forward progress denied, no gain. Michael Dogby at 6'3", 280. Stood him up. And Ken Niumatalolo had said all year, Ivan Jasper is OC as well. We believe we can win with Garrett Lewis. We believe in Garrett Lewis. Much in the same way they had to with other QB changes in recent years.
And so far, they're doing a very nice job.
2nd and goal. Lewis standing up into the end zone. Touchdown. 4th rushing score of the year for Garrett Lewis, who got the start and takes Navy to the lead.
Well, give the credit to Ford Higgins at center, and Njiki at guard, Hawk at tackle. That left side, look at that double team. They buried the defender for Temple. That double team between the tight end and the tackle, that was ugly.
Point after, a precious one. And Navy converts. So we have hit halftime. The score, Navy 10, Temple 7. After the break, we'll send you to our CBS Sports Network studio in New York. The halftime report powered by Ram Trucks. Brent Stover, Houston Nutt, Kevin Carter, standing by. John Sadak alongside the Hall of Famer and Randy Cross. What stood out to you in that first?
Well, pretty simply, kind of what we called for at the very beginning of this game was a performance by the offensive line of Navy. That's been the difference. And just looking at this, if you said, who's the most physical team between these two? Well, so far through a half, that's been Navy. And that's not what they were the last couple of weeks. And the surprise of the day, John, you called it from the very beginning, was Garrett Lewis at quarterback.
And he was dynamite, showing his versatility. He could run, he could take hits, and he's also the best throwing quarterback for the midshipmen.
Yeah, he is, and he was able to take advantage on this play here. Look at that, the pancake block. How many guys were in the end zone? That was something. Already Navy's run for 6 yards shy of what they ran for in the entire game last year against Temple.
Take a look at our Humana first half stats. Time of possession dominated by Navy, and indeed that run game dynamite for the midshipmen, getting that push up front. Ford Higgins, hair on fire at center for Ken Niumatalolo's team. Niumatalolo coached the offensive lineman at one point earlier in his career. So Temple forced to send the ball away. Asked for the football at the game start when the Owls won the toss. A touchback as we check in with Sheehan Stanwick. Birch, you had word with the coaches.
That's right, John. I jogged off the field with Coach Ken Niumatalolo from Navy, and he was very pleased with the offensive line, the defensive effort. I asked him about Garrett Lewis. He started picking up the pace in terms of when they made the decision to get him the start. He laughed and said it was sometime this week, so definitely something that was in the works for them. And then on the other side for Temple, Jeff Collins came out. He was fired up, said, we just need to execute better. He thought they were moving the ball well. They were just having mistakes that they needed to correct and just simply execute better.
Appreciate that, Sheehan. And penalties on each side marred some of their respective drives. Fullback look, Nelson Smith with a ton of room. Ripped down from behind by Sam Franklin, who saves a touchdown. 45 yards.
Little tackle over, Jake Hawk right there, normally a left tackle at right tight end. And the block's inside, pop Nelson Smith's free. A
giant run. He's got 74 on the ground today, had 173 through the first 5 games. He'll take a breather. Anthony Gargiulo spells him. Zach Abey, who hasn't had a touch. He's the wide out top of your screen. Go right back to Gargiulo, and he carries a few Owls. Third man in, Benny Walls takes him out after 6.
Yeah, tackle over again going the other way, and they showed it a little bit in the first half, but here's the possessions, and look at the time of possession during those drives. That's the key, especially those middle two with 10 plus and nearly 550 on the other one.
And that's spearheaded by Lewis.
Getting a lot of reps for Nostrowski, who's basically the only guy on the roster listed as an offensive lineman / tight end.
They had a number in the 70s. They changed it during the year into the 80s. And here's Gargiulo. The fullbacks are gashing Temple to begin the second. Delvin Randall, Chappelle Russell combined on the hit. A dozen there for Gargiulo.
Oh, look at this over here and the job they do clearing things out for the fullback. Oh, yeah, Wood does a nice job screening that linebacker off.
Gargiulo was so physical. Chappelle Russell, who was part of the contact, was slow to get up. Athletic training staff is now helping him off the field. And keep in mind that Russell is one of the top 3 tacklers on this team that's defined by its inside linebackers. Bradley, Graham Mobley, and Russell.
Yeah, if there's one thing Temple's surprised by at this point, it's got nothing to do with personnel. Temple has to be surprised that they're not the most physical team on the field.
Another inside run right through the first hit. Nelson Smith doesn't yield. 12 yards for a score.
What a job by Ford Higgins, the center, inside. Woo. Watch the center. He gets up on the second level. And look at the balance by Smith. He kind of puts that left hand down like a kickstand. Looked like he's getting ready to go down. He would not go down, and that set up that touchdown. Talk about setting the tone for the second half, huh?
First career touchdown, big-time tone setter. And a contrast from how Navy came out to begin the second against Air Force last week. Midshipman up a couple to score as the fullback gets it done. Nelson Smith at the start. The giant 45-yard sprint. Able to get a breather. Gargiulo shortened up the distance, and then second effort, Smith finishes. Navy up 10. So here's the kick. Remember, Isaiah Wright is among the most dynamic return men in the game. Had one for a touchdown last year. Sheds a couple of hits. Keeps his feet. And it's Mooring, the kicker, who whips ball free. Navy knocks it loose. And Temple able to pounce. Devin Randall falls on the football. Sean Williams had jarred it free.
Well, this is exactly what Jeff Collins wanted. He wanted this kind of a play out of Wright. Obviously, no coach in their right mind wants the ball on the ground. Keep it high and tight. It's never the guy you can see. It's the guy you don't see that comes from the back. Sean Williams comes in and knocks it out.
Well, the captain able to knock it loose, but Temple outstanding field position. That's what Wright is capable of. They try to get him the ball in a variety of ways. 2 fumbles aside, only 1 lost on each side. Toss play. And Gardner yanked down by Hudson Sullivan. Time for a day in the life of a midshipman, brought to you by today's military. That is a full day.
For those of you not familiar, that's getting up at 6 in the morning and you're studying till at least 2000 hours, which is 8 o'clock at night. You're studying from 8 o'clock at night on.
Play fake, late shovel pass to Gardner. A miss on the tackle by Heflin, and Gardner yanked by the ankle and dragged down. He'll pick up the first. Micah Farrar the stop. This was so close to containing Russo.
Yeah, good impromptu innovation there by Russo, flipping that thing out. And this kind of a start, kickoff return on, is exactly what Jeff Collins wants out of his Temple Owls offense.
Russo able to hook up with Brandon Mack, their top receiver, and he sheds Jake Springer with the stiff arm.
That was a heck of a straight arm on Springer.
That was
full
Mac's
extension.
first grab.
Yeah, it is. First catch of the day. There's Jeff Collins. As you can see, he's a little intense.
He is hardwired for football. Play fake. Russo a little too eager. You talked about your dialogue with Malcolm Perry finding the wide open man. Brandon Mack wide open. Shot it over a 6'5" wideout.
Yeah, that's not only overthinking, that's kind of overamping on that particular play. It's hard to come off that play action. I mean, sort of lower your heart rate and slow everything down, and you just couldn't handle it.
Trips look on 3rd and 2. On the ground, stood up. Gardner driven back by Taylor Heflin. What do?
You got to think about going for it here. You might go ahead and kick the field goal, but I think you bring in the different personnel. Now they're going to kick the field goal.
So Heflin gets the denial, and Will Mobley gets the call. He missed from 25 when the snap appeared to be tall, and he was well wide. Mobley took over after Aaron Lumeri had a hip issue flare up, has had surgery. Jeff Collins has said his year might be over.
Look at the snap and the hold.
31-yard try is good. Simply his first field goal make of the day, the second of his career within a touchdown. Temple had to settle for a field goal make by Will Mobley. Converted from 31 out, now on to kick. Looked like Anthony Russo might have been feeling some pressure after a sensational Navy drive. Explosive day for Smith. Navy just over 200 yards rushing as a team. And why not go back to Smith and the fullback spot? Navy's been waiting for Nelson Smith to arrive for a little more than a year. We've been hearing it from Ivan Jasper and Ken Niumatalolo, how fast he is, how quickly he hits the mesh point, the thickness of his legs, that he's just different than any fullback they've had physically.
Yeah, it's that speed out of the box that probably makes him the most dangerous as a fullback, but it also makes it probably the hardest to get used to the speed of that mesh and the speed of what goes on in front of him.
Right back to him again. Temple a little more conscious this time around. Armed Forces Football proudly sponsored by USAA. Michael Dogby with that last denial after 3 yards. So of course Navy's going to go inside with Gargiulo, and he gets stood up. That's a big answer by the Temple defense. Picks up 4. Rocky Sin, whose name we haven't called a ton today. The corner was in there.
It's definitely a situation where you're going to punt this ball. Backed up like this in the 33 or so. Navy brought their punt team on fast. Got to get the offense off quickly if you plan on kicking it anytime soon.
Owen White will punt for Ken Niumatalolo. High school rugby player who's averaged a little more than 42 per. Isaiah Wright has a 59-yard punt return for a touchdown. That was last week against ECU. White gets it off. Wright, one great kick return already today. His first chance at a punt. We'll have to wait. It rolls and Navy downs it at the 35.
That thing actually hit and bounced back.
Touchdown game. Temple back to the ball. Sports in the stands for that game. Navy's Alon Nash. Back then, a little pup dreaming one day of playing college football, and his dad, who served in the Navy, Kevin, got him tickets in the nosebleeds, but he had other ideas.
Well, it was snowing, it was cold, so some people got out and went into the concourse. He walked all the way down to the first row, he said, and stood there and watched the Army-Navy game. That's a heck of an experience for a young high school kid.
And Dad, by the way, stayed warm apparently. Backside pressure on Russo, goes over the middle to Bryant. Bryant on the slow, knocked down by Micah Farrar. Picks up 9. It felt some like Anthony Russo on Temple's last drive settled for a field goal was a little off.
Yeah, he was rushing a little bit. I fully expect this offense to get really efficient right now. Wouldn't be surprised if they score on this drive.
And on the ground, needing only a yard. Gardner finds that. Hudson Sullivan climbed on his back after he picks up 5.
And nothing settles down a young quarterback, especially one that's not quite as experienced like Russo, an effective running game. If you can start play actioning off a good running game, you can get more efficient.
Play fake helps set it up, and they find Bryant. Bryant knocked down by Taylor Heflin. Appreciate that. Here Russo loading up, looking long. Beautiful completion to Ventel Bryant. There was little wiggle room against Cameron Kinley, and he hit him perfectly for 40 yards.
You ever hear the term putting it on the fingertips? Watch the fingertips. That's right at the extension of the arms. Russo put it on the perfect spot.
Bit of a different look here out of the pistol. Bryant, false motion, play fake on the roll, lobbing end zone, throws it away. Looked like Mack was open in the back there.
Perfect play. He has that fake. He reverses out. He comes out. He sees his guys basically covered, rolling out to that short side with only really one receiver. That was a great decision. If you want to start talking about him being a little amped up and what kind of decisions, that was a good decision, throwing the ball out of bounds.
Our man Mino on camera was wide open there. 2nd and goal. Put it on the ground. Gardner trying to stretch it out.
The head scored on the pylon, but the ball didn't get there. This is going to be inside the 1.
Picks up 7. Taylor Heflin saves the score. Temple trying to tie the game up.
Watch as he goes down. The knees down. The ball's marked there on about the 3/4 foot line or 3/4 yard line. And the head takes out the pylon.
Being down a defensive lineman for true defense, does that impact your willingness to use a defensive lineman here?
Yeah, because you don't have one that's used to doing it, so you don't do it.
Rich Travato is in, who started at tail. And the former walk-on fullback gets fed the ball. And he is stopped, it seems, just short. They'll peel the pile. Russo thought he was in. Jarvis Polu was there. 4th down. What do you do?
Oh, there's no decision here. Go, go, go. Look at Jeff Collins. Never any doubt.
Tight end wing left. Might we get a timeout here?
This is going to be up to Hennessy, that star center they talked about, and that offensive line. This is where the offensive line earns their money, but they're going to review that last play, see if the man they called Nitro got the ball in the end zone. I'm not sure if that ball's in that left arm, and it is.
Yeah, I think he's
that ball's in. That ball's over the goal line.
4th down. Temple's first attempt on 4th down today.
You go. This is man on man. This is who's the more physical, who's the tougher guy.
Rich Travato is there. Remember, Raquel Armstead is out with an ankle injury. Myrick, the tight end, motions. Rich Travato stood up.
He's in.
Touchdown. Nitro plunges in, and Temple an extra point away from tying the game.
Did you see that sigh of relief out of Jeff Collins, the Temple head coach? Because the guy they call Nitro, that ball is in. He starts going forward, then they pull him back. But that'll be reviewed also, but that's a touchdown. That's one relieved head coach right there, that his offense got him a touchdown on that possession.
Rich Travato entered the game with 18 carries on the year, just 1 score. Armstead, 122 carries by contrast, and among the best backs in the American. Big extra point here for Will Mobley. And the freshman spins it in.
Well, we told you a handful of plays ago that this possession would end up in a touchdown. Took a little bit longer than we thought, but it was that long bomb down the field to Ventrell, number 1, to get Jeff Collins, the head coach, celebrating.
The brigade tips their cap to the opponent, welcoming them before every game. The march on, one of the great traditions in sport. You've got to experience it at some point. Do yourself a favor, go see a game at each of the service academies that help our great country. 17 all. Temple has tied it up. Owls have not led since it was 7-3. That was the later stage second quarter. Kick time for Will Mobley. It was not missed on extra points. The last one a biggie to deadlock the game. Navy rarely returns. And will again say we'll pass. We'll go downstairs to Sheehan Standard Birch with more on Ivan Jasper's son Jaron and his recovery.
That's right. Well, usually we meet with offensive coordinator Ivan Jasper every Thursday. Ivan was not there in person this week. He was with his son Jaron, who had his 9-month checkup after his heart transplant. And so far, so good. Great news reports. I saw his mom before the game, and she said that the test results have been good. They're waiting on a few more, but praying for positive results. And we're so glad to see him here walking, happy and healthy.
Appreciate that, Sheehan. He's a manager on his high school football team. Toss play. A look for Taj Malloy. Of course, the original issue that diagnosed his heart problems that led eventually to a transplant came when he tried out for the football team during a routine physical.
Routine physical, is every kid that plays the game should do that. And every kid that's got a phone, which they all do now, if they think there's a chance they might have been on TV, when in doubt, check your phone, because everyone you know will tell you about it.
And you'll love to see the smile on that young man's face. Know what that means for the Jasper family. Lewis, he's got some shake and some grit. Toughness on display. That spot will be just shy. There is a flag down. Sean Bradley.
That's Perry. That's Perry in the fray there.
Sean Bradley getting calmed down some.
Very emotional player. If you draw up a guy, the personality of a guy that's an inside linebacker, it'd be a picture of Bradley.
Talked about his love for the game of football and how he needed to rediscover that some. Transitioning from special teams to backer last year.
After the play, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, blow to the head, defense, number 21. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Ty Mason, the redshirt freshman cornerback.
That gets Navy almost to midfield.
Well, Lewis already going down there.
Well, they didn't say it was his head.
Just a head.
A head.
Wearing a gold helmet. They bit on Smith, so Perry gets freed some, but aggressively hit by Kamir Brown. We're on to the fourth. You're watching college football on CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. This game has lived up to the billing. 17 all, and by the way, a very happy birthday to the United States Navy. She turns 243 today. Founded back in October of 1775. Tonight's first down line brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. Through three quarters, Navy's held the ball for over 27 minutes, rushing for 250 yards. And here's the breakdown on the Navy. I got that greeting from you. Text message earlier today.
How about the second note there? Started with 2 sailing vessels with 80 men each.
We're trying to take down the munitions ships from the British.
That would be about the right time in 1775.
Third down, a big disparity today.
Standard formation, no tackle over. First one of this drive.
Perry, his first carry in a little while, shows supreme speed. He was matched up there with Rocky Sin, who's getting a lot of NFL looks at corner, picks up the first.
Yeah, Rocky Sin is a guy that is very good in support. And he turns it inside, but very good job. Sort of a student body right there featuring Perry. And you see the defense has got a lot of respect for Perry when he gets out in air, because you cannot overcommit. You saw the big play that he cut back and would have made a touchdown if not for that block in the back on Ford Higgins.
That's been one of the big stories today. Garrett Lewis has been the quarterback all game, even in short yardage. 80 is healthy, but has not been a QB. Smith hit as soon as he gets the ball by Dana Levine.
Zach Abe's healthier. I don't think he'd
not 100%.
Wouldn't call him healthy enough to play quarterback.
Correct. Tonight's first down line brought to you by Navy Federal Credit Union. And we've not seen Navy nearly as much even at receiver as we normally would.
No, he's got a pretty good knee sprain. He's wearing a big old brace on that left knee. You can tell that long blue sleeve and that big brace. And it'll be a while till he's running normal, I would guess.
He was on the wrong side of a very physical defense against Temple last year, and they blow up the pitch. Sam Franklin got Lewis.
Yeah, that's a lonely feeling when you're an option quarterback. You come away from the center, you fake it to the fullback, you go to flip it back to somebody. There's no somebody. There's no back to option two. You have one option. Put a little mustard on that thing and eat it.
And Lewis has been able to do that and protect the football. There were a couple of fumbles early on each side. Kenny Montalolo knows this is a money down just like Temple. 3rd down and 12. Lewis 2 completions today, only 1 for positive yardage.
Enough yards here, might be 2 plays.
Goes toward the sideline and a hop out of bounds for Taj Malloy. Is this enough? He only picks up 5 there.
Yeah, it's probably 4th and be generous and say 8. I mean, so you're giving up some pretty good field position if you don't make this, and you're Kenny Niumatalolo. You're under 10 minutes now as far as time on the clock. Game's tied. You'd love to sort of play possessions with Temple. If you can get a 1st down here, you can draw them off here and get it down to 4th and 4. You're a lot friendlier down in distance.
They've converted today, but that was needing a yard. Lewis loads up, throws on 4th down. Tight coverage, ball disrupted. Linwood Crump draped in coverage, defending against Ryan Mitchell.
Wow, that was really nice coverage down the field. Crump was not fooled a bit, but despite that, look how close that was to a completion. Went right through Crump's arms.
And Mitchell without a catch on his career. The game remains tied. Temple takes over. Tied at 17, Navy and Temple. Off the play fake, taking a shot. First play, Ventel Bryant tippy-toeing the sideline into the end zone. Touchdown.
That's Bryant's 1st touchdown in 17 games. Great job by Russo. That offensive line, they go after Russo. He gets the protection up front, and he lofts this thing perfectly out in front of Bryant.
He matched up there with Marcus Wiggins, who had a shoulder injury, at one point was questionable. So Temple surges ahead. Its first lead since it was 7-3. That was with about 6 minutes to go in the 2nd quarter. Not a great snap here. Point after is good.
So now you're still at 9 minutes, John. So if you're Navy, you're thinking long possession, touchdown, and try to force overtime if you can. Welcome back, where Temple just retook the lead 24-17 over Navy. Let's revisit my keys to the game earlier. It hasn't been a pound 'em for Temple. They haven't only run for 60 yards. But Russo in the passing game has been on the money. Navy's kind of done what they needed to do. They took the ball away. They've had the ball most of the time. But in this case, take a look at this coverage. Here's the receiver. Here's the corner. Safety's here. Watch the zone coverage that ensues. You've got one short, one long, and Ventel Bryant just runs right past the defense in a zone coverage. That should never happen.
And Ventel Bryant is super fast. Jeff Collins told us they run a race on kickoff drill in practice. Bryant's not part of that team, but he participated this week and ran nearly 22 miles an hour as the first man down to the football. Here's Springer on the return. Breaks the plane to the 25. Perry, not a ton of room. Can't do a whole lot there. Let's go check in with Sheehan Stanwick Birch.
Thanks, guys. Number 57, left tackle Jake Hawk just left the field. His right ankle, he is done for the day, left on crutches.
Appreciate that, Sheehan. That's a tough sight. Remember, they're down Kendall Wright, who had been starting at left tackle, and he and Hawk interchange a lot. Wright's ill. They've used double-digit men on the offensive line, and that's because Ashley Ingram told us everybody does a little something different that helps. Play fake. Lewis doesn't have time. Batted down. What a fierce block. You could hear that from outside the stadium.
Well, Lewis was trying to gun that thing. Trying to gun it right into the arms of Dogby. Watch him get his hands up. Oh no, that was Bradley. The linebacker getting his arms up and knocking that thing down.
And that's one that resonates, putting Navy in a 3rd and 9. A little risky to try to throw it there.
Well, not really. I like the call. I just like the execution better by the Temple defense, Bradley specifically.
It feels like they're in a need to pass down. 7th pass attempt, a little underthrown and incomplete.
Got a punt here.
And that's why I find it curious to pass there. You have so much time 4th quarter. It's not really what Navy does.
It's not the offense we've seen be so successful. You're taking, in this case, these passes sort of take the impetus away from the offensive line.
What do you think about that? Is that a catch?
I thought it skipped, personally. I thought it hit the ground.
White to punt. Isaiah Wright. Outstanding return man at his own 35. Again, the punt barely off. Great hang. That'll force Wright to retreat. Excellent punt by Owen White. So the ball marked just inside of the 20. Jeff Collins and his offense back on the field. Russo the ball and a touchdown to lead. What a shot. Director Andy Friedman. Someone call Frank Costanza. We have serenity now. And Temple has had a great day from Ventel Bryant.
Yeah, Ventel Bryant came into this game with 41 games in a row that he played in with catches. And man, he has played like a #1 star receiver in this one. For a team that can spend so much of a game being tough and physical, the pass has been deadly for this Temple Owl team.
Play fake. Russo trying to keep. It's knocked down by Hudson Sullivan. 2 giant plays by Bryant. He had the 40-yard grab on the scoring drive that helped keep the drive alive and set them up in the red zone. And, of course, had that 62-yard touchdown, his first in 17 games.
Now, last Navy possession only took about a minute off the clock. And Temple kind of starts off with something out of character with the quarterback run.
Check down. Bachman is there. Navy swarms as we check in with Sheehan.
Well, guys, you're talking about how Brian has had such a great day, but he earned actually that #1 number back in 2016, but had it stripped from him early last season. Instead, Temple gave it out on a weekly basis to a deserving player. Coach Collins said he told us he actually kicked him off the team last year. However, he's earned back the coveted #1 number, and Collins said he's been amazing since he was reinstated and is the ultimate teammate this year.
Appreciate it, Sheehan. It was the now backup quarterback, Frank Juice Newtile, that begged Collins to let Bryant back on the team. Russo has taken over at QB. Now he's trying to take over this game. Finds Isaiah Wright. Sean Williams gets some help from Cameron Kinley to slow him up. That'll move the chains.
A little bit of it's been the tough thing for Dale Pearson, the defensive coordinator for Navy. When do I attack? When do I blitz? When do I stunt? If I get in zone, can it be effective? You get a little softer in zone. Russo's done a really good job of recognizing, and he's hit guys in stride.
14 yards on that last play. They show blitz here. Gardner finding a big hole. Gardner looks like he's got very close to the first down. It'll be 9+. Taylor Heflin knocks him down.
If you're Jeff Collins, the guy they call GC5, you go to your offense in that huddle before this possession started, and you've told them, guys, squeeze the ball.
Play fake, take a shot, 2nd and 1. Myrick, the tight end. Good job of tackling, but that's good for the first. Sean Williams stopped him, and there's Armstead. No helmet, no pads.
Got a boot on that bad ankle. They'll need him down the road. This is a Temple program that's really starting to turn things around in the right direction, coming in here to Navy. They knew it'd be tough. I don't think they knew it'd be this tough.
First down, toss play. Shrugging off the first hit and a stiff arm. Jagger Gardner is 6'2", 215. That was a muscle run.
How about Jagger Gardner with the contact right there, getting out of the arms of Tyler Heflin, and then getting into the stiff arm. But that initial contact with the linebacker, he just shrugged Heflin off.
2nd and 8. And remember that as time ticks, that affects Navy more than most other teams down to score. Into some traffic. Russo puts it on the spot. Forward progress stop. They pick up 6.
Third and a short 2, maybe 1.5. And this drive is what Dale Pearson did not want to see as defensive coordinator. And this drive so far is just what Jeff Collins, the head coach of Temple, wanted to see.
Fierce hit by Heflin. Second effort gets the first. So a couple of yards there. Temple continues to churn the clock. Do you see a change of pace coming for Temple here?
If they do anything different, it wouldn't be huddling. I'd watch the play clock. And I'd get the message to Russo, and he probably knows coming into this possession, we get a couple first downs, you got to start draining the clock. Let it get down inside of single digits. If you don't do that, you're leaving time on the clock for Navy.
It's only his 5th career start. 11 on the play clock with this snap. And Bryant gets swung back by Jared Ryan. Forward progress still gives him about 3 to 4.
Just sort of right now in this drive, you got to watch the play clock. It's got to get down. You can't keep wasting that time on the clock when you have a chance to run it.
First 300-yard day for Russo, but he goes to nitro. Rob Ritrovato. Hudson Sullivan takes him out. Gain of 5, third down.
Watch that right there. Watch that play clock. Down to 33, 32. No reason to hurry here. Why are you doing this?
And Ritrovato gets the first. I totally agree with you. Alon Nash stumbles him. So now the clock stopped until they spot the ball, set the chains.
It's a frustrating feeling if you're Ken Niumatalolo on the far side. You're down by a touchdown already. The other team is now theoretically inside field goal range for most teams.
And Navy in dire need of a turnover. Ritrovato. Outstanding push up that left sideline. Hudson Sullivan stops him.
Boy, Robinson and Fair, Hennessy, the center. Look at that whole left side. Tight ends block. Seal the corner on Cromartie. That's textbook. This drive here, this is how you finish off a football game. The Temple's doing. This is exactly what Navy did not want to see out of the Temple offense.
13 yards. Here's the 14th play of the drive. And continue to work the clock. Jackson Pittman, the stop after a yard. But it feels like they could be in the same spot with the clock at about 140 had they milked the play clock a bit more.
If you're ideally in this situation in your Temple, what you want to do is it's got to get down into the single digits. That milks as much clock as possible. That puts Navy in a situation where they make them spend the last timeout. Make them burn it.
Russo lobbing one-on-one, deflected, intercepted. Jared Ryan, the INT in the end zone, and Navy's got the ball.
Jared Ryan, one of the Navy seniors that went to the defense this week and said, we need goals. We need specific goals by groups. We have got to set something for this defense. We got to set a standard for this football team. We got to do it now. He waits for nobody else to do it in the biggest spot of the game. He does it himself, tips the ball into his own hands, and gets the ball, Navy the ball back, down 7 with 2:06 to go.
team leading third pick. He's got 3 of the team's 5. Remember, on a very similar play, he nearly had a pick earlier in the game. And if you're Temple, why throw the ball there?
Yeah, it goes in with the same category as using time on the clock. I just think it's something they'll look back on and realize they made mistakes.
Play fake to Perry. Lewis to Perry. Timing a little off. Freezes the clock.
Yeah, I mean, one of the most important parts of throwing a pass is the guy that you're throwing to has got to see the ball coming, and Perry never really saw that one coming. It was high and behind him.
Lewis is the best passing quarterback. If he were not the starter in these kind of situations earlier this year, he would enter for exactly this, the 2-minute drill.
So that play in the last possession, not really Navy shtick, not their thing.
They go shotgun
Now
here.
they're in shotgun. This just screams pass.
Trying to thread the needle, knocked away. Rocky Sin, he hasn't been able to showcase his corner talents all game, but now facing a more conventional collegiate look, he springs to life.
Yeah, you know, against a BC, against an ECU last week when they threw so much, Rocky Sin, you got to really see a guy 6'2", 210 playing corner, where NFL teams have to look at and go, wow, that's somebody we want to talk to. But against this team, it's about support and fending off blocks.
It's also a guy you just can't throw at. Third down, jailbreak on, dangerous pass, tipped, incomplete. Chappelle Russell arrived. Fourth down.
Ball tipped up in the air. Did you see who came down with that?
Going on the line.
Andrew Wood, the right tackle, ends up with that ball in his hands.
And remember, he had a touchdown on a fumble recovery against Tulane last year. He's got some of the better hands of the big guys up front.
But it's the advantage Jeff Collins. If you've got Navy dropping back and throwing now 4 plays in a row, percentages are hugely in your favor if you're Temple.
Very deep safety at the 45. Lewis steps up. Lewis fires, incomplete. Temple holds and turns Navy over on downs. 1:42 remaining. Outstanding field position for Temple, and Navy's got 1 timeout.
Not a pretty good job by Lewis of escaping. But once the escape is done, you've got to find a way to kind of settle down and get that ball where Fells can at least get more than a couple fingernails and a fingertip or 2 on the ball.
And remember that Navy's down Makekau, down Williams. They're more dynamic slot backs. Fells, no catches on his career. On the ground, able to chew up more time. And remember, the Navy has 5 of its final 6 on the road. The only team in America to play away from home in 5 of the final 6. That includes the neutral site against Army in Philadelphia. Rich Travato runs out of the ankle tackle. Forward progress stopped.
Not a problem. No timeouts. You're just using the time that's allotted to you right now for the next couple of plays.
Kendi Matalolo, barring a miracle here, we'll see his team fall to 2-4. Myrick is an H-back, an extra blocker. Temple shielding the football. Under 40 seconds.
And that'll do it. They'll whistle this for 4th down, and there's no reason to snap it again. This thing's over.
The Temple Owls in the 14th meeting with Navy will get their 8th win in the series, their 4th in the last 5. Temple has won every matchup as conference compatriots head-to-head with Navy. And Kendi Matalolo looks pretty fired up there. And he said it wasn't time to push the panic button, but there was no magic wand to fix everything. And you saw a lot of positives for his team today.
Yeah,
however, a touchdown loss.
Offensive line played as well as they have since last year. Malcolm Perry, not bad. Garrett Lewis, not bad. Some spots on the defensive side. But This is not what you expect out of the Navy midship.
And who would have thought when Temple started 0-2, lost to an FCS foe, a good one, but an FCS foe at Villanova,
No doubt.
that Temple would be the first team to 3-0 in the league.
You wouldn't. Then they lose to a MAC team in Buffalo. Not a bad team, but they should still beat a team like that. But now 3-0 in a side of the American Conference, which is really going to be nasty and hard to deal with.
And Russo over 300 yards for the first time. Let's go to Sheehan with the winning head man, Jeff Collins.
Coach, well, dominant second half. What was the difference there in the second half?
Just our guys. I mean, they're such fighters. They're so tough. They handle adversity. We didn't play a great first half, kind of sloppy. They came out the second half, played together. They fought to the end. That's why we're Temple tough.
Then tell Bryant, you said so many great things to say about him in our meetings. What do you think about his play today?
Yeah, I mean, he kind of took the game over, and he's such a competitor, and I'm so proud that he wears the #1 single-digit tough tradition. Is huge in our program, and he represents everything we're about.
Awesome game to watch. Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Appreciate that, Sheehan. He was banged up, had only one grab last week when he toughed it through, and he comes through today. Well, that'll wrap things up for Randy Cross, the Hall of Famer, and Sheehan Stanwyck Birch, along with our entire talented crew. I'm John Sadak. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports Network, the 24-hour home of CBS Sports. We say so long from Annapolis, and we take you back to our New York studios where Brent Stover, Houston Nutt, and Kevin Carter are standing by. Your final, Temple 24, Navy 17. The Owls are 3-0 in the American.